And just like that, the Yankees are back in the win column, and they beat a really good San Diego Padres team. Pretty much what we thought would happen did happen until that bullpen came in. And Gary, the Yankees have one of the best bullpens in the league if you just negate the fact that Devin Williams resides in there. But the Padres are clearly number one. Their ERA is lower than anybody in the league, and they hadn't given up a run in over 12 innings. Well, that changed, and we're glad it did. We're going to get into it, guys. We have a lot of stuff to talk about in this one. A lot of good things, including an emergence, maybe of a young player in Jason Dominguez, maybe finally coming into his own.
Should play tomorrow, when you think.
Yeah, we'll see if he'll play tomorrow. Yeah. Austin Wells, who's starting to get hot. I'm excited to talk about it. Before we do, as always, just a reminder, be sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment after we, wind down the show. Really helps us out. The last episode did kind of what we were expecting, because anytime we go in on Boone, that's why we don't do it every show. But anytime we go in on Boone, we get quite a few people that watch it. Almost 10,000 views on that one. So we really do appreciate you guys consistently supporting. And, of course, you'll always have us after the Yankees games. So, Gary, let's get started. Yankees, Padres, they needed this. I think I texted you. They needed this in all caps. Yeah. Sometimes when you lose 5 of the last 7, you're in kind of a rut. You need something big. Like, it's not just as simple as, we beat the Padres 3-2. No, you need something big. And a 10-run 7th inning, that might be what they needed. We'll find out, of course, but I'm excited to dive into this game because there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and Jake, the Padres had a huge shot in the arm. They brought in Jackson Merrill, who's a star in this game. Right? He was very close to winning Rookie of the Year last year. And you look at what the Yankees had to do, it sort of felt like the way it was going, right? We didn't get that extra base. We didn't move 2 bases, which you were texting me about. It seemed like, Jake, we were going to get to the end of this game and look at our bullpen and see what they could do, right? And that's not what we needed. That's not what this Yankees team needed at all. And to look up and see that the Yankees won 12-3, it tells the story that by the time the Padres got deeper into their bullpen, really not on time, not when they wanted to go to their bullpen, it became a problem. And the Yankees overall, I think offensively, everyone had a good night offensively at the plate today in terms of at-bats. That's all you can ask for. We've got some guys banged up, right? No Jazz. Cabrera right now is at third base. He's not hitting. But if you look at the totality of what this Yankees team did, they were taking quality at-bats. I think the broadcast actually brought it up beautifully. To some degree, it's a great thing when Aaron Judge is hitting homers. We saw that early in this one. That's all sensational. But I guess the issue here is, what are your at-bats look 5 through 9? And today they looked really good. So if that happens, the Yankees are going to win a lot of games. They lead the American League still in runs scored, but it does feel to some degree there's a drop-off in at-bats in terms of quality once you get about halfway through this lineup. Today was a breath of fresh air. We didn't have to see this bullpen really get worked at all, right? You got to see Matzik out there. Anytime we see him, it's a victory cigar or it's garbage time. It was a good thing.
It was. This was a game they needed, and it was fascinating to see the guys that came through. Volpe with 2 hits, Austin Wells with 2 hits, and Jason Dominguez with 2 hits. It was also fascinating. You had, brought it up to me. He gave up a lot of hits. I mean, 7 hits is a lot. I don't know. He went 6 innings. I thought Clark Schmidt was really impressive today, considering what he's shown us, and really gave the Yankees a chance to be in this game, because he pitched in some tight situations. Obviously brought it on himself, bases loaded situation where you have the balk, and you and I talked about it. That balk isn't always called. It's a very rare call, but I guess I didn't really have an issue with it because it was just kind of weird how much Clark Schmidt was moving in that one particular pitch. Like, he didn't come set, and then he did all sorts of kind of twitching, and
it was wonky.
That's going to get it called. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, that's what they call it on. But then you would obviously suspect on the other side of it that you would get the call, and you already know where I'm going with this, I complained about it. The Jason Dominguez play, okay? I don't understand how a player who has already made the turn from first base and the ball is thrown into the camera well, he doesn't get third base on that. And why is that important? Because obviously it ends up being 12-3. So if you just look at the box score, you're like, who cares? But at this point in the game, this was crucial. They needed a run. And Anthony Volpe, the next at bat, ends up just being a fly ball in the stat sheet, but really it should have been an RBI, a sac fly. Because,
yeah, and it was great contact, to your point. I mean, he hit this ball to the wall, and it just turned into an unproductive out when it otherwise probably shouldn't have, right?
Yeah.
And we're not going to harp on this too long.
No,
the Yankees ended up winning this game handily. Yeah, it needed to be brought up. I thought in that moment, the umpire should just assume you're already at first base, and if another umpire had a different angle to suggest otherwise, now you retract that. But to allow a runner to just stay put where he was or just move up to second base, that's a huge difference, right? And so you never know how baseball works out. I mean, at that point, it was a very close game, and it felt like a loss the way that the Yankees were kind of chugging along there. But thankfully, these bats woke up. And I will say this, and because I don't always like to defend the Yankees and just be biased, I thought the umpiring tonight, from the home plate umpire at least, was pretty bad. I thought the zone was wildly atrocious and just mediocre altogether. And that benefited us in some way, and in other ways, it benefited them. So for me, all I care about really is what this offense is going to do about the lack of talent 3 through 5 in this rotation. That's what I care about. And if you look at how the Yankees are going to go about carrying some of the guys, so like Cookie Carrasco was DFA'd earlier this morning.
I did not like that.
Yeah, you didn't like that at all. You text me immediately. And to some degree, you have to ask yourself, well, who's going to start those games? It's more than likely going to be Ryan Yarbrough, or they're going to bring somebody out the system. But having said that, you can't be expecting ace-like stuff from those guys, right? Yarbrough has been good for us of late, but that's not exactly a penciled-in quality start. So what it means is this offense has to carry the load. Well, the way they do that is by doing what they did offensively tonight. Maybe not scoring 12 runs, but the process of it, of consistent at-bats 1 through 9, is a winning, that's a winning formula. And that's something that happened tonight. So I hope we go into the finale tomorrow against San Diego. Again, very good team, Dylan Cease on the mound. I'm expecting the Yankees to have a proper process 1 through 9 offensively, not just Judge, Goldschmidt, and then maybe Dominguez.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I thought that the bullpen was really stellar. I know, Hill gave up a run, but Cruz got himself out of a tough jam. And Cruz pitched again, Gary. What was that all about, huh? But,
it's refreshing.
All jokes aside, going back to what you were saying, with Cookie, the reason why I was so frustrated is because I had already complained on this show, so I'm not going to do it again with Yoendris Gomez. And it's not just because I like the player, he's homegrown. It's that this is somebody that can give you 5 innings potentially if you need him, right? He's one of those kind of hybrid bullpen starters, was a starter in AAA, and now you have, Carlos Carrasco, who is a starting pitcher. And it's almost as if they were like, we like him more as a starter than a bullpen guy, and because he can't help us out in the bullpen, we're going to get rid of him. And this just kind of goes to my theory. I know Yeri De Los Santos was great tonight, and to be honest with you, I like the player. He should be on this team more than Matzik. I felt like the Matzik move was just one of those let's get creative moves. It was like last year when Tonkin wasn't bad. He had a little bit of a rough patch, but he was pitching pretty well from the moment they got him, right? I just felt like they were like, we're done with Tonkin. I don't want to play with that toy anymore. I want to find another toy.
Do you hear what the broadcast said about this, though? They said that, technically speaking, Cookie is going to go through the waiver wire, which it's entirely possible nobody picks up this player.
Mm-hmm.
And the Yankees can just reactivate him, right? Send him down to the minor leagues, and then whenever he's ready to pitch in the rotation, they can just throw him out there if they really want to. But I would assume, based on what we've seen, I would assume he's going to be claimed. But even if he didn't, Yarbrough is probably their guy. Go 3 or 4 innings, it'll be considered an opener. You're looking at innings 4 through 9 where you got to get outs, those might be some of the innings where the Yankees try to figure out what Devin Williams is doing. They may not throw Devin Williams again in a tight situation. So I don't know. It's interesting. This is part of the job as Yankees manager or as a manager in general. These calls are difficult because you're talking about the bottom of the barrel on your roster and what to do with those guys, but it does make an impact. Yeah,
no, I think that's fair. I didn't ultimately love the decision. I do think he'll end up being gone, and I didn't like the Gomez decision either. I think having starting pitching depth is one of those things everybody needs to have, and right now the Yankees don't have that. So that's my concern. But Apex Caliber, we appreciate you. That was the super chat that you posted after we went live. There's another one that for whatever reason doesn't get picked up that I'll be able to add manually. But notice it was the homegrown guys who came through. And he's right. Volpe, Wells, and Dominguez were the big guys for today, and Ben Rice. You can't forget about Ben Rice's pull. And, man, to pull a ball, unless it's going out of the yard, is that not the most pleasant thing to watch? Like, just ripping, absolutely tearing the cover off the ball down the line, where it's, like, on the line. You could barely even see the ball. I love seeing moments like that. That was a huge moment for Rice. It just continues to show you that, yeah, Rice's average has gone down. And they actually made mention of this about Arise on the broadcast, so I'll bring that up in a sec. But his average has gone down, but I'm willing to sacrifice maybe 30, 40 points of batting average if I get more of the slugging. You know, like, would you rather have him be a slap single hitter and hit 300, or would you rather have him hit around 260 and he's hitting bombs and he's getting doubles and driving in 3 runs? Like,
well, Jake, defensively, he looked actually surprisingly good the other day. So
I've always liked him defensively.
Yeah,
I always have.
They've talked about his defense being, I guess, somewhat of an issue. They didn't like it at third base. They didn't love it at catcher. And I've been relatively pleased with the job that Rice has done. The decision-making, obviously the fielding is the main part, right? Can you scoop the ball? Can you throw the ball to second? Can you make those decisions? It seemed like he could, but for Ben Rice, yes, it's a homegrown guy, but he creates so much solution. I know it's considered a problem. What do we do with Stan and him when they come back? But guys, this is such a solution for the Yankees long term. You get this player performing, and you obviously see our super chats mentioning the homegrown guys. There's a reward for actually developing a player. It's cost effective and allows you to be more aggressive elsewhere. When you look at a Yankees roster and you guys complain about maybe a bullpen piece in Devin Williams, you guys can possibly complain at third base. You can complain right in the outfield. Maybe you don't like somebody in the center field or in the corners. Well, those guys are easy to fix in the offseason when you hit on some of these young players. So to see guys like Wells, to see guys like Rice today, to see a guy like Volpe have 2 knocks, Volpe's batting average now is starting to creep into the 240s, into a more serviceable spot. So is 240 acceptable? It's not, Jake. But like we said before, we're going to pump the brakes on judging any one of these players. Show me something over the course of 6 to 8 weeks. When you can do that in a positive way, we're going to cover it. And we're starting to cover a positive trend for some of these guys offensively. It is a good thing. And there's the super from Apex. We had that at the very beginning before we went live. Says, I hope Fried pitching breaks offensive curse. I wouldn't say that that's going to be the thing. Jake, I actually remember that Max Fried, defensively behind him, has statistically the worst defense in Major League Baseball behind him. So I'm interested to see how we play in terms of a clean brand of baseball. There are going to be a lot of balls in play. He doesn't hunt strikeouts, right? It'll be interesting to see how those guys play back there. I'm going to assume, right, Volpe seems somewhat healthy. He'll be back at shortstop. Guys should be okay defensively. I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, Fried is going for his 7th win of the year. Should have 8, but
that's insane.
Yeah, I know. He would have 8. He didn't get the win in the game that they absolutely blew away the Brewers because he didn't pitch long enough. I don't love that rule, but it is what it is.
Brian, I guess it was fair. He technically was pretty wild that day.
Yeah, he was. Brian, thank you for the 10. I'm over these goofy errors. Second, short, third base are liabilities. Volpe is very overrated, and Lombard will be breathing down his back very soon. Warren needs to be sent down immediately. So appreciate the super chat, Brian. I would just say this. I think the errors are frustrating. I wouldn't necessarily say like I don't think B-Boss and I don't think Volpe has made some errors as of late that have been a little concerning. Cabrera is just not a very good fielder. I think we can kind of all agree, at least based on this year. He's just not good at third. He's been really struggling. And, I mean, Peraza made an error today, and he made an error the other day. So, you know, I wouldn't say it's necessarily cut and dry that they're all liabilities. I don't like clumping everyone together, but I understand the frustration there. Volpe, the bat is getting better. The glove seems to be, as of late, not so much. And we've held back on talking about it, but because we don't want to rip Volpe to shreds. But yeah, I agree with you. The glove hasn't been there. What I will say about the Warren thing is I hear this a lot. He needs to be sent down immediately. They don't have another real option. So it's like if you send him down, who is starting in his place? And then Lombard, here's what I'm going to say about Lombard Jr. Okay. He was called up in what a lot of people are saying earlier than expected with the way the Yankees, carry prospects. Oh, he got called up to Double-A really early. He's 19. It's not even earlier than Jason Dominguez. It's not. Dominguez was called up 4 months earlier than Lombard Jr. But here's what I was thinking, Gary. You got Oswald Cabrera, who is starting to fall off a cliff, batting-wise. His bunt today was atrocious. If that was actually a really close game, and they lost the game, that bunt was horrific. You can't have that moment.
It wasn't nice. Yeah, I didn't like it.
You cannot have that moment. He hasn't been great in the field. I like the homegrown guys. To me, I'm just going to be honest with you. I see Cabrera and I see bench utility guy. I feel like I know who he is, and he's just not a starter. And he'll have his moments where, it's a lot of base knocks and slap singles and all of that. But you've said it before. We said this last year. We kept talking about this last year. Third base is a premium offensive position. The Yankees are not getting premium offense from third. They're not getting it from second right now. They're not getting it from short. They're just not. So where do you get the premium offense? You get it at first base. You have one outfielder, although Grisham's playing out of his mind as well.
So right now we're technically getting it from two spots in the outfield.
And then you're getting, of course, your DH, which that's
Correct.
To be expected. That's not good enough. So I know I mentioned Brendan Donovan the other day, but I actually think that a case could be made that if the Yankees feel like they don't have their guy right now, I think we could see Lombard Jr. called up by the end of the year. I'm not saying it'll happen.
Yeah,
but I could see it. I could see it
Okay.
because it is, like I said, Jason Dominguez was called up earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Jason Dominguez never had the spring training and the publicity that Lombard Jr. got in spring training. And I want to make that clear because I know a lot of people had his card and they were calling him Mickey Mantle and all that, the Martian, and he had a lot of hype. But Gary, he didn't have a lot of publicity when he was in, spring training, raking, and you got Aaron Judge commenting on him. That was Lombard Jr. And I just feel like the natural position for him would be third base. And I think it's right there for the taking. And I'm not saying I'm calling him up right this second. I mean, I would because I don't give a rip. The bar's so low, why would you not just see? But I would say to monitor this because I do think the Yankees might consider it because they're not in a position where they have a Josh Donaldson who they're paying a lot of money to. They have a Chase Headley. They have an A-Rod. When you're paying those guys that money, like A-Rod was getting paid a lot, Chase Headley was getting, all those guys that have been at third, they did not have that opportunity. You could say DJ LeMahieu, but is LeMahieu even going to make the majors? It seems like he keeps getting hurt, it seems like. He's getting injections.
He was on a rehab
and
assignment today, and technically he's going to do it again tomorrow. The team's expecting him to bring him to the West Coast, and I saw a joke of a post in our live chat mentioning that, and he will be on this big league team by next week. I promise you he will be. But having said that, what Brian's point here is talking about defensive liabilities. I'm not concerned about this defense at all. Zero concern, right? I look into the outfield. Aaron Judge he's great in right field. Cody Bellinger, he's awesome in the outfield, right? Trent Grisham's not a problem in the outfield, right? Right. Jason Dominguez is an underrated fielder at this point. Is he below average? He certainly could be, but he's improving. We know what it looked like last year. It's certainly better. Now you look into the infield. Cabrera's probably league average or slightly below average. But you look at Volpe and you look at Goldschmidt and what Jazz does at second base, all of them are above average, right? Austin Wells, he's the best framing catcher in the sport. He's not the best thrower of the baseball. We saw that a team stole 6 bags on him the other day. But the totality of what we do defensively, this defense is rated 3rd in baseball. My concern is offense, consistent at bats. If you don't hit 280, do you have pop? Can you draw a walk? Right? Just some of the basics. And if you look around, yeah, the Yankees do have some young players who are under-delivering in terms of their overall body of work. But that's the reason why George Lombard Jr. is so exciting for people, because if you look at this player, he's got all the tools that you'd like to see. And at this point, if you want the Yankees to go out and be high prize and go get, say, a Kyle Tucker this offseason, the Yankees are going to have to hit on another infielder. That is their calling card. You're going to go high prize in the outfield, maybe at DH, right? Judge, Tucker, and you're going to have a Dominguez. Maybe you can expend like a Jones. Maybe you can send him out the door, bring in an arm. But the rest of the guys, you got to develop. Ben Rice, first base. Wells behind the dish. Third base, Lombard Jr. Volpe has to take a step forward. He has to. So I get this whole concept about being underwhelmed as far as defense, because when your team is blowing saves and it's a 1-run game, it feels like every night, you start to get nitpicky with what guys are doing on the defensive end and all the little stuff. It's easy to critique it. But guys, you know one thing about the Dodgers and some of the Padres team we played today? You know what they also have in common? They can just go out and drop a 10er right on the scoreboard, and you don't think about their defense because they can just out-hit the problem on that given day. The Yankees need to do that more often. They were doing it earlier this season. They're no longer doing it now, but they did it tonight, and it feels good. So I want to just mention that. This is a good thing. We had a night off. I know it was stressful there. I want to make sure I get this right. Up until the 7th inning, we dropped 10 spot, and now we don't have to worry about what Aaron Boone does at the back end of that bullpen. It's now a night off. Someone light the cigar. So I was happy to see that. So Brian, totally understand the frustration there, but we also have to remember that this Yankees team, they did some great work today, and we're going to have to see how this continues. And Alex Reyes with the super said, I'd rather send Warren down. He is scared to pitch. I'm going to address this very short. Will Warren lacks confidence. That's clear as day. There's no way around that. The broadcast covers it. We cover it. Many other people talk about it. When you've got an 0-2 count, I brought up what Greg Maddux was actually saying on Pitching Ninja last week. He was saying, well, when it's 0-2, you need to go after the hitter. This isn't just a time now to just waste a pitch and be afraid of contact. There's nothing wrong with going after a player 0-2. And it's something that Will Warren just refuses to do. He just does not trust his stuff. And you'll see 0-2, 1-2, foul ball, 2-2, 3-2, and then you look up and he's fighting to keep guys off the base pass with all these walks. So I agree, Alex, it is frustrating to watch him specifically because it's not fun to watch guys nibbling all day, especially when they've really got good stuff, which Warren has. So, yeah, Jake, what do you think about Warren?
Yeah, I think you just said it perfectly. I mean, what I always found funny is in the day and age of pitch counts, there should be no waste pitches. I get the point of them. I understand like why they exist, but it just sounds hilarious. I mean, pitching is so like you get to 100 pitches, you're done, right? So
yeah,
I get it from your perspective 100%. The way I see it is the way you see it. I think he gets 0-2 and he does pound the strike zone the first 2 pitches, but then it's like you want to see maybe get creative and throw a fastball inside. Close to maybe, not saying at the jaw, but try to get him to chase, make him uncomfortable. It's like that next pitch isn't going to be anywhere near the strike zone. It might even be in the other batter's box.
So there needs to be a purpose. If it's 0-2, there should be a mission.
There needs to be an
with your
approach.
next pitch.
and he does not have a pitching approach. Just like how we talk about how hitting approaches are such a big deal, and we should be, approach unloaded at this point. He does not have a pitching approach. He doesn't, because when he goes up 0-2, he's just like, he's nibbling. Like you always say about the Squidward thing. He is nibbling, and that's not going to do it. And you see he has legitimate 10 strikeout in a game potential. I mean, he's got good stuff, and he misses bats. But I just don't feel like the good thing is it's frustrating now, but the good thing is I think the issues he has are very correctable, and he's got good enough stuff where as long as he stays healthy and he shows some confidence and consistency, which that could be about anybody in the majors. But if he just keeps doing his thing, but also developing, being more aggressive, but having a controlled aggression instead of just, flailing, in the strike zone. Yeah, I think you'll start to see better starts. And I'm not saying he'll ever be an ace, but I mean, he could be high end 4, maybe a low end 3 starter. And I don't think that's a bad thing, considering he's not like a top prospect. He's one of the top prospects in the minors right now, or I don't even think he's a prospect anymore. But when he was like top 5 at the very end. But Gary, this is the guy they got in the 8th round. Like, he's not Anthony Volpe. He's not Lombard Jr. These were guys that were drafted in the 1st round of the draft, who were expected to be that guy. Spencer Jones, right? Austin Wells, 1st round draft pick. This guy's an 8th round pick.
I think people need to remember that when you're looking at a Will Warren, your goal should be he develops into a serviceable arm that you trust to go 5. And then you pass it off to a Cruz, a Hill, right? Some De Los Santos. Those are the guys you hand it off to. They're not, I promise you, Will Warren's not going to turn into Michael King. That should be out of your mind. But you have to look at the stuff. His stuff is too good to pitch the way he does. And to some degree, maybe that changes. Maybe it doesn't, right? Just because someone has something to work on doesn't mean it will just fix over time. We've seen plenty of players in this sport where you say, I know what they could get better at, and then you look up 6 years from now and they're gone. They're out of the league. They're pitching in they're in Mexico all of a sudden. So he's got to get better. It's clear. It's confidence for him. So Jordan Richard with the super. We appreciate it, Jordan. Thank you. Jordan. Says, open to being wrong on this, but I haven't been confident with Hill this season. Something just seems off with his pitches. I haven't seen every outing. Now, we've seen every outing. And with this arm, he's just one of those guys. He's a craft guy. There's no craft guy you will ever watch that surrenders a run where you feel good about it. I promise you. Watch Marcus Stroman. He'll give us 2 great starts in a row last year. And then you see him in the next start, and he gets banged around the field all over the place. And you're like, yeah, how did that get anyone out before? And it just feels horrible. That's why so many pitching coaches and general managers look at stuff, guys. That's why. That's why we were freaking out about the splitter with Cruz and the high velocity fastballs that all our relievers mostly have, is because it doesn't ever usually look like that. So, yeah, no, I understand, Jordan, where the frustration is coming from with Hill. Obviously, he didn't have a great night tonight. But overall, I think more times than not, you'll get what you're paying for with him. He'll be okay.
Yeah, I think Hill's fine. I mean, 3.06 ERA. I think it tells the story. It's not below 3 because he's had some really good outings, and he's had some outings that haven't been so great. It's elevated it a little bit, but yeah, he's definitely not a guy I'm concerned with. I think from a pitching perspective, today was a big step in the right direction with Yerry De Los Santos getting some more opportunities because he's looked good. Clark Schmidt, obviously, this was a huge start for him. And I think Fernando Cruz, who once again showed Aaron Boone, yeah, I can pitch back-to-back games. Like, what are you doing? So, and even Matzik had a good day today. So I thought there were some good things to take away from the pitching. I am relieved today, but we need to catch pop-ups. Oh, yeah, so somehow we never talked about that yesterday, the infield pop-up. Mm-hmm. I don't even have anything to say. I genuinely am speechless like a tea party out there. To this point.
Yeah.
Even it's 24 hours later. And Gary, I don't have words to describe what happened on that night. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's not a concern. It's just
no, it's just
to
it's
some
one of those,
degree.
I couldn't believe it happened.
This baseball team is going to go where their bats take them, right? Opening series, everyone was sitting there on their high horse getting clicks on X and Instagram, right? Over these barrels of our bats. Just, it was a dumb story. And then all of a sudden you fast forward 2 weeks, Jazz is hitting $111, right? Cody Bellinger can't hit water if he was falling out of a boat at that time. And suddenly now no one's talking about the bats. Well, that is going to be the story about this Yankees team. Because remember, guys, our rotation is bad right now. It's bad. We have 2 guys who have been everything you can possibly ask, right? Max Fried has delivered. He's pitching tomorrow night. Rodon has been, we were talking early in the season saying, yeah, he's just not worth $180 million. It's just clear as day. And then all of a sudden, he looks like a Cy Young candidate. So then you say, well, what comes next? Well, it is a bad rotation. Clark hasn't looked the same. Then you look at the rest of it. It was Cookie, Stroman before that, Yarborough opening, and Warren. So when the team gets healthy, this rotation's not going to be bad. Heel's coming back, right? You expect to some degree, if it's bad by the deadline, this Yankees team will pick up a starter. They just will. So I'm not concerned with that. Jake, before the season started, I told you, my main concern is how strong are the bats 1 through 9. And the reason I mention 1 through 9 is because everyone gets on their high horse and so excited about what's happening with the 2-hitter and what's happening with the 4-hitter and what Goldschmidt's doing, right? What Rice is doing, right? Extra base hits left and right. But all that is just amazing until you look at the bottom of the lineup. And let's just say today you got nothing from Wells, Volpe, and Cabrera and Bibas at the bottom. Well, it sort of it undoes everything you do at the top. So the importance of what those guys did at the bottom today is what I'd like to draw attention to. It at some point or another, it doesn't need to continue to this degree, of course, because otherwise we'd be the greatest team of all time. But I do need to look at the bottom of the lineup and be somewhat happy on a daily basis about what happens with some of the guys at the bottom. And I guess their job, man, get on base. Get on base, make productive outs, find a way. You're not going to be the best hitters. So we understand that. But if you guys really want to know where the Yankees are going to go, look at this lineup. Look at what happens with the development of Bellinger. Look what happens with Anthony Volpe. Does he continue to ascend? If he does, you're not going to be complaining about this rotation much longer because these guys are going to bail them out to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 guys in the lineup right now that have over a 900 OPS, and then I think there's 1 guy that's an 800, and then the rest is 600, 700. And I do expect other guys to really start stepping up. I think Austin Wells, and we didn't get a chance to bring it up, but his on-base percentage started off so low, and it's not going to look great. But Austin Wells had shown me a lot before tonight. I started it's almost identical to last year. But I felt like last year was more bad luck. And I think this year he got a hole of one. The first pitch of the season, home run to lead off, right? I think part of it is he might have been over pursuing the home run. I think also part of it was I think it throws a player. I mean, you mentioned this. You said, A-Rod said this about how, every time, we're hitting in the same order and everything. So I don't have an issue with the way they've done it this year, but from Wells' perspective, to go from hitting leadoff and having, guys like Aaron Judge and Goldschmidt in the picture to now hitting 7th, I think that's a completely different, now your role, right? Your mission when you come to the plate is completely different than what it would be leading off. And so I think a lot of people don't.
You're like under the radar at that point.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that, and maybe that's good for Wells, but my thing is he had to adapt to that. That wasn't something I think doing that as quickly as he did might have screwed him up. Now, I'm not making excuses for him because I also believe he just wasn't hitting well, right? But I do think there is some truth to the idea of, oh, yeah, you're going to be the first catcher in Yankees history to lead off and make a big deal about it And then the next game, he's not leading off.
Like, yeah, he hit a bomb the first, I think it was like literally the first homer of the season.
Yeah.
So it did change in a hurry, but he certainly played himself into that position. So I'm not going to blame anyone but him.
No, of course.
And Dave with the super says Peraza's not doing himself any favors with the game extending gaff in the ninth. Might be on the cusp of DFA, sacrilegious considering Papus Reyes still here. Guys, I don't want anyone to feel sorry for any of our young players because this ultimately is a very hard job, A, to acquire, and B, to keep. It's very difficult. And if you know anything about the Yankees, it's probably harder in our organization to stay as a young player than any other team. We're constantly in win now mode. Sometimes we just put people in positions that they frankly shouldn't be in. And then sometimes we play favorites. Certain guys just play, and other guys you're like, I like what he does, but he just doesn't touch the field. I wonder why that is. Well, to some degree, Peraza, when he does get some burn, he is going to have to play himself onto the field. You're not going to be able to smack a single once every blue moon and then wonder why Boone doesn't put you in there. It just doesn't work that way. So, yeah, I don't feel sorry for certain guys. You get brought into the game, you need to perform, even on a short sample size. It's a tough job, but that is what it is. So, yeah, no, I don't think Peraza's on the cusp of being DFA'd. I think it's more likely that he sits in the minor leagues and rots, right?
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. I want him to play well. I want him to be given an opportunity, but this is no charity. This is the Yankees, and he'll go where he's supposed to go.
Yeah, by the way, in the chat, real quick, because we got other super chats and stuff, but I noticed, I'm going to try and find it. Can confirm, I just looked this up. The Dodgers DFA'd Yoendris Gomez 10 hours ago. So
isn't it interesting with injuries and just the day-to-day lifestyle at the bottom of the barrel? This is the way it goes for contenders.
Yeah.
The Padres, the Dodgers, the Yankees, right? Hesitate. I mean, well, any team that expects to be in running, right? The Phillies to go out there and win a division, they are constantly just firing up a shuttle and DFAing dudes, running them through the waiver wires and saying, hey, well, he'll be our opener in 2 weeks. He won't be picked up. It's the dark days of the season. It is. Like, well, I know it's the beginning.
It's why you don't want to be in the bullpen.
No, you do not.
I mean, I was just saying, making that, observation, or rather that analogy to fantasy baseball and how it's so easy to pick up closers throughout the year because teams are so bipolar on their pitchers. And that's just the way it is. But also, it's really a thankless job. It just is. Like, Luke Weaver's everyone's hero right now, but if he goes out and has another bad outing, you're going to have people calling for his head. I know that sounds crazy. What?
Is it like being a kicker in the NFL? You just all of a sudden you're just this hero. That guy's what happens? Some young rookie comes into the NFL, he makes 3 kicks in a row, wins you a football game, you're like, I love that kid back there. And then all of a sudden 6 weeks later, you miss a couple weeks. You have a big game on Monday Night Football, and then that kid shanks a kick at the end of the game.
And he ruined the entire game, according to people. But
suddenly he loses you the week in fantasy football, and he's your least favorite player on the field. That's bullpen work. So it takes a lot of work. It is thankless. It takes a long body of work for people to like you in the bullpen.
And that's the thing, like hitting wise, Austin Wells right now, everyone's going to say, yeah, he's getting hot because it looks a lot better when you're able to hit and score runs than it does. Yeah, he struck out a guy. How many times have we forgotten to talk about certain guys in the bullpen because of all the things that we had to cover? It's normal.
Yeah, they're a sideshow for sure.
So it's one of those things where, it's almost like a stock game. And if you're DFA'd, teams almost look at you as like damaged goods. There are some teams that can build you up, but I think the Dodgers used him for like 1 inning. I mean, he barely pitched, and then they picked up JP Fryson or whatever for the bullpen. So
I don't even know who that is.
I don't know who that is. I've never heard that guy's name in my life. So
someone will probably get mad at you for the pronunciation. But Julian with the super, I want to make sure we catch up here. Yeah. Make sure everyone is read. Now, thank you guys. So Julian with the super with the 2 says, thanks for the show, guys. Julian, thank you.
Thank you,
And
Julian.
Brian, back with the super with the 2, says, speaking of Mexico, I'd trade Warren for a taco. I still think Warren is going to be valuable for this team, maybe just not right now. I have some level of faith in him.
I do too. It's weird. I don't necessarily think he's going to be anything special. And I think that's also the thing. With prospects, it's tough, Gary, because you have fans. And if you asked somebody what they expected Jason Dominguez to be, like genuinely speaking, it's not even like you're asking somebody that's knowledgeable about baseball. But if they're a Yankee fan, they've heard of Jason Dominguez, they're expecting his ceiling to be one of the best in the league. And that I just don't think is fair to Jason Dominguez, because just because you're a top prospect, that doesn't mean you're going to be the top player in the game. Not everybody is going to be Aaron Judge. Not everybody is going to be Bryce Harper or Mike Trout. I think we actually have to understand that top prospect just means, yeah, they're expected to be a really good starter. You know, a plus starter is what I would say.
Doesn't it also, when you're a top prospect, doesn't it mean to some degree you're just the best prospect that the team's got?
In their farm system, yeah.
That doesn't even mean, technically speaking, there are 30 number 1 prospects in all of baseball. How many of the 30 become even a good, like you would say that's a good player? How many of those number 1 prospects become good players in the sport? So I understand to some degree. You look at Jason Dominguez, and today I loved everything he did. I thought he showed hustle. He showed some actual resolve and some heart. We have to have that. It can't always be pretty boy. We're the Yankees. Now we've got beards. We look good, play good. No. To some degree, you need to take ownership of what you're doing out there. You need to be a high effort guy. Until I look out in the field and you're hitting 320, then you can maybe take a day or 2 off. But not while you're hitting 238. I loved everything that Jason Dominguez did at the plate. We actually saw a big hit today from the right side. I know you look at the final score and it's a blowout, 12-3. But at the time, yeah, he started that rally. So Jason Dominguez did his thing today. And yeah, Jake, to your point, he doesn't have to be a star, but Jason Dominguez does have to be a good player, considering how often the Yankees protected this player from trade. So there's also that. Once you get the opportunity to make a deal, you say, no, I want this guy in my system. He's a keeper, untradeable. Those untradeable players, whoever those guys are, you decided, those guys have to be the money dudes. Those dudes have to hit 280 plus with some pop, play good defense. And those guys on our roster are Anthony Volpe and Jason Dominguez. So it'll be interesting long term to see how this ends up shaking out.
No, I think that's definitely fair. Shout out to Jason Dominguez. The hustle double on that was awesome. But no, I think the reason why I bring that up, though, is because, like, with Will Warren, perfect example, is most Yankee fans don't think he's any good. But if they feel like his ceiling, he needs to be really good for people to give him respect. I just don't think people are tempering their expectations while saying he's trash and all of that. I just don't think you're quite grasping. This guy was never supposed to be Phil Hughes. He was never supposed to be Luis Severino. I see him as an Ivan Nova. You know, he pitched. He was a 4th guy, a 5th guy, had some good moments, had some not so good moments. And honestly, people liked him. But you know why? Because Nova wasn't some top prospect. He was a guy that came up. And by the way, neither is Will Warren. Just because you're in the top 5 in this Yankee farm system after they just sent away all those guys for Soto does not mean you're a top 5 prospect. So let's get
it's almost like when
straight.
we call up a guy in our system, we're like, wait a minute, he's got to be great or really good.
Yeah.
And to your point, what's considered because we just said at best he's probably like a 4 or 5 in a rotation. What numbers, guys, and this is for you guys as well, our viewers, what would you consider an acceptable 5 starter for this team? ERA, strikeouts, innings, and we're talking about the totality of a regular season. And most people would say an ERA probably hovering in the mid 4s.
Yeah.
Maybe you straggle up to a 4.65. Get some strikeouts. You're not going to go length. Your 5 starter on most teams in baseball, even the contenders, they don't give length. They're looking to go quality start, maybe go 5 1/3, hand it off to the bullpen. It's going to be a longer day out the pen, and you should expect that. That is the ceiling for Will Warren, and he's got plenty of stuff to make that happen. So for those of you who don't like this pitcher in Will Warren, and you say you're going to compare him to maybe a veteran that the Yankees can go get at the deadline, that veteran's going to beat him all day, every day. Why would that veteran be worse than your 5-starter? So that's a given, but I don't want people to compare Will Warren and what his ceiling is versus some pickup via trade for one of your top prospects. So yeah, I think Will Warren he'll do plenty. And really, to some degree, this Yankees team does need to figure out what they're doing with some of their young talent and accelerating some of this growth, because there have been some fair criticisms about the development of our young talent. And this year, I've actually been somewhat pleased. Like, to see what's happening with Rice, there was a clear ascension, and then we hit a stalemate, and some would call it a cliff. And then now you come into this year, Ben Rice is one of our best players on the team. That matters. It matters a lot. For a major market team spending $300 million, if you want this team to start looking like a $300 million roster, those guys have to play well. Volpe has to play well. So great day at the yard today. I didn't expect this. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think this just came out of left field. But we'll see how some of these young cats can actually build on this.
Yeah, I mean, that's just baseball, right? And, you know, our pick for because we only did one pick on Profit X, Gary, and there was a reason for that. We didn't trust Michael King's strikeouts. I listened to what you were saying about the rain. So, in a different reason why I didn't take his strikeouts.
Better weather, huh? I mean,
yeah.
Thank goodness. That first game was just
obviously
worse because we lost in the style of how we lost. But that first game, I'm actually surprised they even allow baseball to be played like that.
Well, so people need to understand, because I saw a lot of people on social media complaining about, why is there, it's just rain. If you haven't played baseball, you don't understand. Baseball in the rain is dangerous. It is. In the outfield, did you see that guy slip and fall in the outfield for the Padres yesterday?
Yes. Well, yeah. Paul Goldschmidt, I think, is the one who hit this baseball. And he didn't even round first base, because a lot of people there were people DMing me on X saying, can you believe, did you just see Paul Goldschmidt? He didn't round that base hard. I'm like, guys, he's literally on a slip and slide going down first base. Like, we're not even playing baseball.
No. And so, at that point, it's like you're hoping.
See.
You're banking on luck, because it's basically survival of the fittest. Whoever just somehow manages to win in the rain is going to win. Guys are slipping off the mound. It's just atrocious. It's not baseball. I mean, play football in the rain. Don't play baseball in the rain. It's that simple. Anyway, so, yeah, today, going into it, Clark Schmidt, you took me off it. I was going to say he was going to have over on the strikeouts. You know, you were like, I don't love it. So I backed off that, because you were telling me, you're like, I don't necessarily think he's going to go length. He ends up going length. He gives us 6 innings, but didn't get the strikeouts. So we end up pushing, folks. It was a push.
That's a W.
I don't care. I'm taking a win on this one.
Because, hey, a win is a win.
Because I was so certain. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with the game line, right? I'm going to go with the game line. I'm going to take San Diego. I took San Diego. We took San Diego in the first 5 innings play. So we took the money line in the first 5 innings, and they pushed because it was tied.
A push is a win.
A push is a win in a 12-3 game. That's wild. Like, after that, we were 2 innings away from getting nuked. So I'll take it. It was.
It could have been very ugly, and obviously you don't want to steer people the wrong way. But man,
yeah, no, of course.
It was. I would say most people, when you looked at the 3rd or 4th inning, the feel and the vibe of the game was like, oh, I feel like I've seen this movie before. And then all of a sudden, the Padres were off schedule. They brought in a Peralta. Peralta didn't throw a lick of strikes today. And I thought the Yankees, by the way, I don't want to just put it all on Peralta. The Yankees did a really good job today understanding the game plan of the opposition. Certain guy comes into the game. Peralta's been on our roster. I actually expected him to stay with the Yankees long term. He didn't. But long story short, this player comes out. What do you know about him? Well, he's on the left side. He loves throwing. He'll throw a lefty on lefty changeup. He will go to that pitch over and over and over again like a well. So to this point, when you get up to the dish, the game plan should be make him throw you a heater. You're just going to lay off that pitch. He's going to throw pitches at the bottom of the zone. And sure enough, our roster overall, we're forcing him to throw strikes. And suddenly, later in the at-bats, you started seeing hard contact. So props to these Yankees hitters. They understood what certain guys were trying to do. And anytime you can do that, I mean, you saw with King today, they knew the game plan was he's going to be throwing that backup sinker. And we didn't necessarily hit him, but the fact that a pitcher as good as Michael King only had 2 Ks today and 2 walks, well, that tells you the at-bats were still pretty good.
Yeah, that was a gut check performance by this hitter. Because as a hitter, if you're going up against a Michael King, you're just trying to stay alive. You know, you're not expecting. I don't think the Yankees went into today's game against Michael King. They're like, we're going to kick the crap out of him. You know, and they stayed alive, made it a close game, and sure enough, they were able to come through with a huge inning against 2 good bullpen arms, and that was huge. I don't know if we got to this, by the way. We might have.
We did not. Are you talking about the super chat right here?
I love this super chat because this is truly how I feel. Peraza, 1 error, loses trust, yet 11 and 95 can all day. I do agree with that. I agree. I feel like now, unfortunately, because it came at the end of the game, even though it was a dead, it's dead period of the game, garbage time, I feel like people are going to point to that. I'm not saying Peraza's playing well, but again, it's hard to know what you have in him because every time he plays, it's followed up with a benching 2 days in a row or 3 games in a row, and then he comes back, and it's like you can't really get into a rhythm, right? And to the point of this, 11 being Volpe and 95 being Cabrera, it's like you still have Cabrera defenders because it's like, well, he's hitting 250. It's like, okay, well, hold on a sec. He was hitting 300 when you were making the argument. Now you've just been like, yeah, he's hitting 280. Well, he's hitting 270. We're going down. Like,
yeah, but he's got less pop than a school cafeteria. So it's like, what, like to some degree, 270, I understand it. Like, especially in today's game where the average hitter in baseball hits 240, 230, we understand 270 looks pretty attractive, but Cabrera also does not slug. So let's just call it a spade.
And his batting average is going down like a dumbwaiter. So
it is, right. So you have Peraza, right, who makes 1 error. And then people say, well, why is he crucified? And then 11 can make a key error, right, late in the game, and it just doesn't matter. Well, that's also, guys, where analytics come in because the Yankees love the defensive analytics of Anthony Volpe and overall what he does. Can he make some boneheaded plays out there? Yes. He can drop a pop-up. He can boot a ball, maybe boot a double play ball like we saw a couple nights ago. But overall, the Yankees love what he does defensively. But overall, Cabrera, what is there right now? It seems like he's sort of average at everything. He's just an accumulation of average, which is not a bad thing, but it feels a little hypocritical to criticize somebody like Peraza who maybe has more tools than a Cabrera and, not criticize them the same way. So I understand the frustration there. We're just going to have to see. Like I said about Peraza, my expectation of this player, he doesn't seem like he's in the inner circle to be out on the field. I don't know what goes into that. Obviously, some of that is Boone's decision, most of it. But, yeah, I'm not in that locker room. I'm not going to make any decisions. So just seems like he's one of those guys that just gets picked on. That is what it is.
Yeah, well, we see them in every sport. So there is that. I know people had mentioned about the minors, so I just want to give a quick update, and then we'll go to Profit X. So really, because I get it a lot, right? And by the way, the people that are brought up, Gary, normally the starting pitchers in the minors, like, oh, could this guy be an option? Notice they're always Double-A. Schlittler, Brendan Beck, like these are guys that are in Double-A. So the Yankees have told us Double-A isn't like when Bryce Harper was in Double-A with the Nats. You don't get called up from Double-A by the Yankees. They do things, you go through each process. They rarely call guys up from Double-A. Say what you will about Volpe. Volpe did get called up to Triple-A before he was called up. That's just the way it is, right? So looking at their pitching, it's kind of interesting to me. Seems like their ERAs always suck, right? I don't know why. AAA starting pitching, the ERAs are always bad for the Yankees. So their top two guys, Sean Boyle has a 4.06 ERA, 36 strikeouts, a 1.03 whip, and a batting average against of 189. Now, Boyle is 28. He was drafted by the Yankees in 2018 in the 25th round. That's your best option right now in AAA, based on what I'm seeing here.
What was that other name? There was another name that people were talking about to be called up.
Messinger?
No. No. Somebody in the chat may get this, but there was somebody in the Yankee system.
Brendan Beck? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it wasn't him either. No.
I've seen Schlittler and I've seen Brendan Beck, but I haven't seen Wyans.
There he is. I'm pretty sure it's Wyans. So, I'm fairly certain.
Alan Winans is a pitcher that has started 3 games for the Rail Riders, and Boone had mentioned is going to be one of those guys. Rieselman is another. Rieselman. He gets brought up a lot. Also, I think AA. So Winans has a 0 ERA in 4 games, 3 starts, 14 innings. He's given up 10 hits, 0 runs, 5 walks, and he struck out 24. Batting average against him is 196. He has a 1.07 whip. So it's interesting because this is the guy that Boone mentioned today. It's going to be who we just talked about in Yarbrough. And Winans, who he's been around for a while, 2018 pick by the Mets in the 17th round. He's 29. But, like, this is kind of what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm not, like, against him getting called up. But, Gary, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Your 2 best options in AAA right now are 28 and 29 years old. Like, you don't have... Like, this is what I mean by the timeline is just off. You know? Like,
I don't even think the Yankees, though, look at their AAA the way other teams do. Like, AAA...
I think that's a problem.
For other organizations is like, oh, he's kind of in the oven, and we're ready to pop him out. But the Yankees sort of look at it as this, like, pit station where it's like, hey, if somebody gets banged up and then there's a lane for you, then we'll use you. Well, you don't think about that. Like, could you imagine playing MLB The Show and you're playing great in your career mode and they won't call you up unless, like, the starting center fielder for the team that you happen to choose or be drafted by just goes down with an injury? It's like, no, if they're really trying to find a place for you, they'll put you in left or center field or in right field, and you'll live with that. But the Yankees sort of just have guys in the minor leagues and they'll say, well, we're good at shortstop. And they'll have a shortstop that they like in their system. And you're like, well, why don't they bring him up for a chance? And they go, because we don't have a shortstop spot. It's like, put him at third. But the Yankees don't view it that way. So, yeah, it is interesting because the story, I guess it tells when you look at AAA and you see a bunch of dudes who are 31, like Pablo Lopez, or it wasn't Pablo Lopez. Who was it? Yeah, it was, right? Pablo Reyes. I always want to call him Pablo Lopez.
I get it.
Pablo Reyes. He's 31 years old. So a lot of the guys in our system, you always wonder, why don't they give that guy an opportunity? They usually view it as there's no lane for this guy. There's no runway. Well, make a runway. If you think a guy's a good enough baseball player to help your team in any way, bring him up.
So Earth Wanderer is saying he threw 10 straight strikeouts. I don't know if that was in a game or just 10 straight without giving up a run. That's pretty good. Or a hit, excuse me.
I would assume that's 10 straight Ks in the game, which is...
Rieselman is 23, and he's got a career... Wish his name was
a Rizzle. The Rizzlator.
The Rizzler.
Yeah. The Rizzlator.
It's probably Rieselman. That makes sense. He was a 2022 5th-round pick by the Yankees. He's 3-4 with a 2.67 ERA. In 64 innings, he has 95 strikeouts and a 1.13 whip in the minors for his career. Why is this guy not being called up? Why has this guy gotten no opportunity? So,
you know, to some degree, do you think maybe the Yankees refuse to call up? Let's just say, right? You've mentioned like mentioned 3 or 4 names where you're like, I could see him getting some outs at the big league level, but Also, when Brian Cashman at the deadline makes trades, he usually trades players that don't have a single moment of service time. I think Brian Cashman views these prospects that if he calls them up and they don't give the output, that he can't sell another team on whatever that output is, the projection, right? If Agustin Ramirez was called up to the Yankees and he didn't play well for us for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, he would feel like, I can't go trade him to the Marlins for whatever it is I want. Do you see how that works?
I see the vision. I don't love the vision, but I see what you're saying. I get it, but I also hate it because I feel like that's just being disingenuous, because you're telling me that Eric Reiselman could help this ball club tomorrow, and you're not doing it because, we know he's got good stuff and he's pitching really well and he strikes out 30 more guys than innings pitched, but just in case we want to trade him, we can't use him.
Yeah, they view it as, you see value in what he can do on the field. We think we can get maybe slightly lesser value on the field at the moment of when you would have called him up, but later on we'll recoup that value by winning a trade. That's what Brian Cashman is doing. So I promise you there are
AAA
2 or 3
like
names.
A bank then.
Well, yeah. But that's also why people think that the Yankees don't know how to use prospects, is they're not actually trying to use them. They're trying to, essentially, if their back's against the wall and they must use them, they use them. But they're not necessarily being proactive in doing this. I think it's more about creating value to win trades. And
I really don't like that. I understand it, but I don't like that.
And maybe I'm wrong, by the way. Like, this is just my theory on what the Yankees are doing.
You're wrong,
but
man.
It's the way I view it.
I don't know if you're wrong. I think that makes sense. I'm not saying they have tons of guys that I'd call up or whatever, right?
Right.
But, yeah, that does frustrate me. It seems like all the pitchers are in Double-A. From what I always see, all the pitchers are in Double-A. So I'm gonna look real quick here. Brendan Beck is the guy that's been brought up, and this year he's got a .93 ERA. He's 2-0, 4 starts, 19 and a third. He's given up 10 hits, 2 runs. He has walked 2 batters. He has a .67 WHIP, and he has a 1.49 batting average against him. He strikes out 19 and 19 and a third. And then you have...
There's some talent.
Yeah,
there's some talent there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Cam Schlittler, who people keep talking about, I actually had a chance to watch him. Had some good stuff, actually, in spring training. And then he got just absolutely belted. He gave up. It was a hanging... I couldn't really tell from where I was, but it looked like it was a hanging breaking ball. Schlittler's 2-2 with a 2.33 ERA and 4 games started. 27 innings pitched, 22 hits, 12 runs, 7 earned. 1 home run given up, 6 walks, 29 strikeouts, a 1.04 WHIP, and 227 average. So Schlittler's had a little bit more of a rockier thing than I would say Beck and some of the other guys we mentioned, but I've heard really good things about him. So, I mean, and then they have, Edgar Barclay is another guy. Like they have guys in here, and I look at them and I'm like, okay, like Bailey Dees, for instance, he's having a not so great year, whatever. He's 26. Then you have Brendan Beck, who for his career, Gary, in 14 starts, he has a .83 WHIP and a 1.35 ERA. He's 26. What are you waiting for? How does this guy not get called up to AAA?
Yeah, because this guy that you just read, like, you had to go dive into the system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, diving into the system, so remember, right, you're feeling like, oh, there's some talent hidden there. Well, the way the Yankees view it, if I call this guy up now, he's on the big stage, and he's not hidden. When I get to the deadline, and I say, well, who do you want? And they say, well, take your pick. Most often, other GMs are going to say, well, look at the output that this guy's giving him. He's this little hidden gem there. I see some value in that guy. And he goes, oh, I don't really want to give it to you. Well, he really does. It's the game. He doesn't want this player to be called up to the big leagues. He has no use for them other than making another GM feel like they're finding a steal. That's what it was. Agustin Ramirez, for that trade to Miami, he wasn't one of our top prospects. You mentioned some of his numbers and what he was doing in the system. And then all of a sudden, another team...
I'm to be blamed for trading him away? No.
No, so you put him on the stage. See, really what Brian Cashman wanted him to do was give me an output, right? Hit for pop, get on base, play your position, do it well. But we don't want to talk about you, because if we talk about you, another GM's going to think we're trying to fool them. So let's let them find him with these numbers. So that's what I think this is.
I agree. I actually have a theory on the prospects.
Okay.
I think the lack of consistency stems from the lack of consistent usage. And I think, I don't want to say damaged goods, because that's a negative connotation I don't want to throw on these young prospects. But, like, how is Oswald Peraza supposed to have any confidence whatsoever?
He definitely shouldn't.
How is B-Boss supposed to have confidence? Maybe right now he's getting burned, but to this point, why would he? Peraza should be, like, dead in the water mentally, because he's like, I was the number 2 prospect that you wouldn't trade away for, what's his name? Luis Castillo. You wouldn't trade him away for Luis Castillo. The Yankees should have decided, like they had to do with the Padres. They chose to move on from King, and they chose to move on from Drew Thorpe, but really it was between, in all likelihood, it was between Drew Thorpe and the guy who just got Tommy John surgery, whose name is totally escaping me. And they chose that guy. I almost said Chance Adams. No, that was a different one.
But I know who you're talking about, though.
I don't know why. I've said his name so many times, I can't remember it now. But point being, they chose that guy. Mm-hmm. And look, I think Peraza can play in this league. But
Chase Hampton. I'll throw you up on the screen.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mike. I think I mentioned him earlier in this show, too.
Yeah.
Chase Hampton, they chose over Drew Thorpe. I'm not saying Drew Thorpe is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I have no idea what his stats are. He was traded away for Dylan Cease, so he's part of that. He's part of making that happen. But my thing here is that realistically, the Yankees should have seen it's as simple as this. We're not trading Volpe, we're not trading Volpe and Peraza. We're trading one of them, and we're getting Luis Castillo. That's what I think a better organization would have done, and they likely would have chosen to trade away Peraza if they felt Volpe had a higher ceiling, which everyone was basically alluding to the idea that Volpe had a higher ceiling. Peraza was still really good. Peraza was, I think, a year older, was in AAA, so maybe the floor was higher, but Volpe had the higher ceiling. That was kind of the assumption. But they nuked that sky high because Peraza wasn't traded away, and now at that point, you owe it to, in my opinion, it's down to you to figure out, okay, if we're not trading away Peraza, we just basically told him indirectly how much we value him. So now you have to actually instill that confidence in him.
Oh, he should not think that they have confidence in you. If you're not traded by the Yankees at a deadline, you should be under the impression that at some point or another they have some plan for you that has nothing to do with you being on the field. So
I know what you're saying, but you get what I'm saying, right? Is that when they decided not to trade him, and they turned down getting, because keep in mind they went with the bargain bin option. They traded for Frankie Montas.
Yes.
Right? And to be honest with you, I didn't have as big of an issue of them, diving down a little bit. I had an issue with the fact they went after a guy with arm issues. That's not the point. The point being is that when you did that, you decided not to trade for Luis Castillo. You should have made it very clear Peraza and Volpe are our plans at shortstop and third. And now here we are. It's 2025. It's May 6th. And, you have these prospects like a Peraza that have no idea what to think.
That's the thing, though. Peraza was never designed to play. When you said they didn't trade him, right? Mm-hmm. They should have made, okay, we're not trading this guy. We don't want to get rid of him for what you guys are asking for. Really what the Yankees are doing by keeping Peraza as this tweener, it creates a trade chip later. So, yes, I agree with you that maybe the Yankees should have been more aggressive and stop holding eggs in another basket and waiting for the future just in case your team desperately needs to get better down the road. Well, what ends up happening is you have a lot of guys you saw something in, the Yankees didn't touch. And that's untapped potential. But one thing's for certain, and I'm not going to give Brian Cashman credit, but this is part of the game plan, is that when you choose not to trade young players all in succession for really good players in this league, those really good players cost a lot of money. Well, what comes with money is also risk. And the Yankees don't take a ton of risk, guys. They don't. They just don't. It was very unusual of what the Yankees did last offseason where they traded for Juan Soto, got rid of Michael King, got rid of Thorpe, right? And you look up and say, oh, you did that for a rental? Everyone made the assumption, oh, we only did that because he's going to be returning. He is returning. Then he didn't. That's not like us. We don't usually do stuff like that. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying about how we should use these guys, but they don't. When they choose not to trade a guy, other organizations say, no, we want to keep this guy because they have aspirations to do something with him in that uniform. We do it because we're going to pretend like we have aspirations for this player, and then you can use that guy. Now send us Alcantara. Now send us, right, this player that we can use right now for a run. That's what Brian Cashman does, and sometimes it works really well, and other times it really bites you because you look up at a guy and you can name a few where you go, we didn't even touch that guy. What happened to him? He just sort of fizzled out. Now he's in Sacramento.
Yeah, it's frustrating, especially I brought it up on this show before, Everson Pereira, who Earth Wander dropped another guy riding down there. Yeah, he's leading the team in average. He's leading the team in home runs, RBIs, all that stuff. So, it's frustrating. I mean, we could go on about this all day. So I just wanted to touch on it, mainly about the starting pitchers, to try and show people that they might have guys there, but they're all in Double-A. And whether that's done by design, which I would assume it is, or it's just pure negligence, which then somebody needs to be fired. Like, I'm not even kidding you. If you're like, oh, I didn't know Brandon Beck had a career 1.32 ERA, you need to be sent to Cancun. Like, you should not be, you shouldn't be in charge of what you're doing. But it's just a reminder that, yes, the Yankees don't have depth. So this idea, or at least proven depth or depth that they trust, this idea of just getting rid of, like, Will Warren just because you don't like him, like, it's just not, it's not based in reality. Like, he's one of the only guys that they have that can actually start a game for better or for worse. So
yeah, that's very true. All right, so let's do some picks with Profit X. I'm ready.
Yeah, let's get into it.
I'm feeling good about tomorrow because obviously we've got our ace on the ball.
Yeah, it's always fun when you have your ace on the hill. So
I mean, I am taking the Yankees first and foremost. I mean, you can go ahead and make that pick because just for those of you who missed it, Dylan Cease is the matchup, and he hasn't been going length. Okay, his last start against Pittsburgh goes 4 full, pitched okay, right? Gives up 2 earned. So, but he's been wild. This has been the story of this player, and he's got all the stuff in the world. This is an ace when he's right, but you look up and say, okay, that start against Pittsburgh, 4 innings, 2 earned, but what was wrong with it? 3 walks. His start before that at home against Tampa, 4 1/3. Again, no length. 6 hits, 2 earned, nothing wrong with that. 4 walks. Again, so 7 walks in his last 2 appearances. I'm not expecting length out of Cease, and what's going to happen on the back end of that is San Diego's bullpen worked hard today. They're going to have to work hard again tomorrow, most likely. And Dylan Cease certainly can throw this on its head. He's got the talent to do it, but I'm going to bank on the trend here. I'm making this pick against Dylan Cease, and obviously the Max Fried is going to bring this home. His ERA is 1. He's been great. So Yankees all day tomorrow.
Yeah, they have the same amount of strikeouts, and I found that kind of funny. But if you remember, when we were talking about Dylan Cease for the Yankees, this is why I was so against him. This guy walks way too many guys, And now think about it. He has 4 more walks than Fried, but he's pitched 11 fewer innings than Fried.
That's bad.
So that's a lot. And he's also given up 1 more home run than Fried. Again, 11 fewer innings. So the strikeouts, I could see him striking out maybe 5 tomorrow, but he's kind of wild. And I think the Yankees are already in this zone where they've been really patient at the plate. I've noticed. It feels that way. Maybe it's this series. I don't know. But I've seen patience at the plate. So I'm going to say that happens again. I am going to take the under on Dylan Cease's 6.5 strikeouts.
Okay.
I'm going to take the over on Max Fried's 5.5 strikeouts. I think Max Fried, and I think the big thing here is looking at Dylan Cease, the control issues, the pitch count. So 6.5, Gary, what if I told you all those things considered? Dylan Cease has only gone over 6.5 twice this year, and it hasn't happened since April 2nd. That's the last time.
To some degree, if you miss on that, you still got to feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
You never want to lose. But
yeah, I mean,
if somebody creates,
1, 2, 3, 4,
if somebody
5
creates an
times.
anomaly for you to lose on a pick, then so be it.
Yeah.
We're taking the under. I'm also looking, by the way, at the first 5 innings for the spread.
I like that.
I'm taking the Yankees.
I am too.
I think the
first
Yankees
5
should
innings
have a
is
lead.
awesome. I love that one because
Yeah.
the Yankees are kind of out there. You know, we don't know how it's going to go down after Fried leaves the mound, but hey, I like it. Fried's going to control it. They just need to get 1 run, and I think that they have it the first 5. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, and obviously I agree with this with Yanks for the win. Says he wants to pick the over. I would agree with that. If you want to go that direction, you certainly can. And guys, remember, if you're making picks with ProfitX, make sure you guys drop the code YANKSU. Does us a ton of help. We really appreciate it. And of course, make sure you guys drop a comment and like the video. Helps the algorithm a bit with YouTube.
Fried has gone over 5.5 strikeouts in 3 of the last 5 outings. So I do like that. And I just feel like...
Wait, hold on a second. Ariel Epstein told us to stay away from this. You remember? We brought her on our show, and she said, I'm just going to let you know right now, if you're going to take anything from what I say, do not take any Max Fried overs. She said this specifically.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I think she was talking about futures. Future strikeout prop. That's what I think. That's what she was talking about.
I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
Yeah, you should definitely get some clarity there.
This was what it was.
But I kind of want to take it, Gary.
Go ahead and click it. Go ahead.
I kind of do.
If it doesn't pan out, I'm sending it straight to her.
So I will be doing those 2, and then we'll take the first 5. We don't have everything up right now. This is all they have right now. So
okay,
that'll be obviously different when you log in tomorrow morning. You guys will be able to see a lot more. But definitely do you like the Yankees money line? They actually have the Yankees plus 0.5 the first 5 innings. So they're giving you so I mean that's interesting.
I like it straight up, and it's
I do too.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I like that. And then what's the other one I like? Oh, let's just do dingers for the road at this point.
Okay. Yeah, last thing, dingers for the road. Who's hitting a homer tomorrow? I'm gonna look at the numbers real quick.
Yeah.
Where did it just go? Okay, here we go. So the player who's hitting a home run tomorrow is none other than Mr. Paul Goldschmidt. He's going Oppo Taco. He is. Porch job. Didn't play today, right? Pinch hit opportunity.
Yeah.
He's going to start tomorrow. Ben Rice will be DHing. I'm getting a Paul Goldschmidt bomb. It's happening.
That's interesting. I am going to go with Aaron Judge again.
Wow.
He's
going with the greatest hitter of the generation, guys.
I know. It's but I mean, I just think it's so obvious that I can't not do it. And it is plus money too. Like, think about that. Aaron Judge has been so dominant, and you still can make money off of him hitting a home run.
Yeah, because still it's technically hard. It's just not very hard for him.
Because this is what I would say. You ever bet on or did any picks or plays or on like the NFL? Anytime touchdown. The best touchdown scores, like you're an Eagles fan. Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. These guys have negative. Like you don't get plus money with those guys.
my mom. Happy birthday, Mom.
Yes, happy birthday. Yeah, I don't care. I'm sticking by it.
I agree, Mom.
I'm doing it. I'm going plus money. Aaron Judge. He's got 12. He's gonna have another. And if you want to get creative here, I'll get creative. Anthony Volpe.
Okay.
Volpe.
He's ascending. He's got homer
better.
pop. Okay.
Yeah, he's hitting better as of late. He's hitting 400, limited ops, of course, but 400 against Cease. So, yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, anything else? Anything you want the chat to drop in the comment section? Because obviously, this was a great day. Didn't look like it at first. It just didn't.
Yeah.
It was some ugly umpiring on both sides. Didn't like the strike zone, specifically for Padres pitchers. I thought it was terrible. We didn't like the call, right, with the advancing 2 bases with Dominguez. Ended up costing us at the time. But we had the offensive avalanche. Had to have it. What do you guys think Fried's line? I think we might see something special out of Fried tomorrow. I do. I'm not calling a no-hitter or anything like that. But I think we might get a show, right? A couple of the Padres really good hitters, right? Jackson Merrill from the left side, and it just so happens that Fried, being a southpaw, it might work out tomorrow. I like the matchup.
He's going to be in the lineup tomorrow. There's no way. The day off on Thursday, he better be in the lineup tomorrow. There'll be fists flying to the Bronx. But, yeah, guys, I'm going to do a song title.
Okay.
Because the first thing that popped in my head was Celebration Day, Led Zeppelin. So put in the comment section Celebration Day, or you can put in Led Zeppelin Celebration Day or Celebration Day by Led Zeppelin. Whatever works. But that is going to be our comment code or whatever to show us that you stuck around for the end of this. So longer episode, beefy episode. Yankees win 12-3, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
And make sure to like this video.